Time to get frisky with Kremik. Come here. Come here, baby.
Boy.
Oh, hey. I was kidding. Holy shit. Move, run, run.
I think so.
Oh my god.
Bore me.
No.
Bathe the starways in your blood.
I am going to commit suicide.
Avengers Infinity War is finally upon us, and just sitting in that theater made me realize how many people were in the movie. It didn't hit me till now. This poster is incredibly crowded. That's not a bad thing. I really liked the movie. But that whole thing got me thinking about how many heroes there are in this franchise. Like, it's not just those from the films, but you also got those from the Netflix series and TV shows. And that number is just getting bigger. They're adding heroes all over this timeline, and every single time, it's getting more and more people hype. I mean, I get pretty hyped for these too, believe me. It's Namor fighting an army of robots, everybody. React, everyone. React! We're apparently getting Cloak and Dagger next month, and they're both the same age as Spider-Man. With all these new additions all over the place, it got me thinking about who really was the first hero of the MCU. This came out right after Infinity War, so
wake up the members of my nation. It's your time to be.
If you're looking at things as in who started the entire franchise, then the obvious answer is Iron Man. It was his film that kicked off the Avengers and all these other solo films that we're still getting to this day. But within the world that he's in, he's far from being the first hero.
Me?
Even the Avengers Hulk became the Hulk 3 years before Tony Stark became Iron Man. And the newest Avenger, Captain Marvel, predates them both by a good decade. She apparently got her powers in the 1990s, saving the world when these guys were pretty much nobodies at the time. But Black Panther's dad, not Chadwick Boseman's T'Challa's Black Panther, John Connie's T'Chaka's Black Panther, was seen as the Black Panther earlier in the form of Atandwa Connie's T'Chaka's Black Panther. Black Panther, Black Panther, Black Panther. He was well in his prime in 1992 when he assassinated his own brother, meaning he probably took on the mantle around the early to mid 80s. And the original Ant-Man and the Wasp, Hank Pym and Janet Van Dyne, both became superheroes a few years prior to him being crowned the new king, bringing the history of superhero origins all the way back to the mid to late 70s. So this pushes Iron Man even farther down the line from being the first superhero to exist in the MCU. You also got one of the Iron Fist ancestors from 1948, which most people wished influenced the look of the new Iron Fist.
I am the Iron Fist. I am the Iron Fist.
And I'm the Iron Fist.
I am the immortal Iron Fist.
I'm Squidward, I'm Squidward, 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 Squidward.
But then of course, you also got Captain America, who's been the all-American hero since World War II.
I can do this all day.
The first time we were introduced to him, he was dubbed the first Avenger. But was he really the first? He was one of the members of the Avengers that was born long before the majority of the others were born, but you also got another Avenger that's over 1,000 years older than him. He's been around half the time that Asgard's been around. He could have been born as early as 518 AD. This also means he's older than the Ancient One, who started breathing in the 1300s. But even then, Thor wasn't really considered a hero for a really long time. He was greedy, selfish, and was always looking to start swinging whenever he could up until 2011. He learned humility the hard way when he literally got grounded. So really, Captain America was a hero before Thor ever was, making him the first hero of the Avengers. Though the Avengers aren't the only heroes in this universe. Like, if you go back to Asgard, Thor had a bunch of good-hearted friends that were trying to talk some sense to him way back in the first Thor film, implying that they were more or less heroes during the time Thor was still nothing but just an obnoxious meathead. So in terms of who was heroic first, Sif and these three would have Steve beat by over 1,000 years. Yet they're all half the age of Valkyrie, apparently. She fought Hela 1,600 years after she was initially imprisoned, meaning this flashback scene took place several years before Thor was born. And we all know how that went down. As it turns out, Asgard in the Marvel Cinematic Universe wasn't always there. And the Asgardians, though they're often referred to as gods, aren't eternal.
We're born, we live, we die, just as humans do.
Give or take 5,000 years.
Odin was born just around the same time the first Inhuman was made from the Kree, and his dad, Bor, became king of Asgard nearly 2,000 years before that, 500 years after Agamotto became the first Sorcerer Supreme, the one who had an Infinity Stone named after him. And before him was the birth of Asgard itself, and the very first king of it, Buri. Because Thor once said,
"Since the days of Bor and Buri before him, we have protected the 9 realms."
Lumau doth mother know you weareth her drapes looking head ass.
We've never really seen him on film, he's only been mentioned a couple of times. But there is one more that predates all of that. A man that became a superhero before the Avengers, before World War II, and before even the formation of Asgard itself. And that was the first Black Panther. In the very first few minutes of the Black Panther movie, we are shown a pretty cool animation where we get the origins of the Black Panther mantle. We're shown a silhouette of a man who ended the constant war between the African tribes, and it turns out his name was Bashenga. Now the time this took place is still uncertain, but putting the timeline together, it had to be at least 10,000 BCE. So there you go. The first hero of the Marvel Cinematic Universe wasn't a super soldier, a god, or even an alien. It was a man. It was the original Black Panther. Not T'Challa's Black Panther or T'Chaka's Black Panther, their ancestor Bashenga the Black Panther, the first Black Panther. There are still a bunch of other beings that are older than him in the MCU, but none of them are really considered heroes. The Collector, Grandmaster, Ego, and the other Celestials are all apparently millions of years old, going much, much farther back. The cosmic entities were the first things around in this universe 14 billion years ago, which is about when they created the 6 Infinity Stones. But of course, they're not relevant cause I want to know something from all of you guys. Where do you think Marvel will head to after the 4th Avengers film? Let me know down in the comments below. While you're at it, be sure to hit that like and subscribe button. Also, don't forget to follow me on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. And for more of my videos, just click right here.